Conflict is one of the most defining moments in communication. But unfortunately, most people don't know how to navigate it. Even worse, we're afraid of it. We live in a world where harmony is glorified, where disagreement is treated like a threat. We've been taught to fear conflict, to smooth things over, to avoid the hard conversation, to speak quickly, defensively, or not at all, as if disagreement means disloyalty, weakness, or danger. That fear makes us shut down, lash out, or let resentment grow in silence. And it costs us trust, clarity, collaboration, and respect in every area of our life. But if you've seen even a few of my previous videos, you know that we, super communicators, we use conflict to our advantage, don't we? Because the truth is that avoiding conflict is one of the fastest ways to lose credibility, influence, and connection in all relationships, be it at work or at home. Because conflict is where real change happens. A film without conflict wouldn't hold your attention for more than 2 minutes. Conflict is where trust is tested, sure, but it can also be strengthened if the conflict is managed well. Conflict is the moment where you can either damage a relationship or deepen it. Avoiding it takes away your voice, your boundaries, and your ability to speak with courage. It eats away at collaboration and breeds misunderstanding. But what if I told you that conflict, handled well, is actually one of the most powerful tools you have, not just to solve problems, but to build trust, respect, and connection? And that is exactly what I'm about to do, because today I'll show you how to understand, approach, and resolve conflict with confidence and power in all areas of your life. This is Conflict Resolution 101 and how to use conflict to our advantage, using it to connect with clarity, courage, and authenticity. Hi there, I'm Letitia, actor and communication and public speaking coach, here to help you become a stronger and more impactful communicator by helping you enhance your communication skills to create connections that matter, one conversation at a time. As an executive coach, I've helped countless people reclaim their voice, lead with courage, and regain trust and self-confidence in their communication skills. And I'm here to help you become a super communicator. So let's do this, shall we? Conflict is everywhere, at home, at work, in all of our communities. It can destroy trust, or it can deepen it. It can shut people down, or open them up. Did you know there's a famous study by psychologist Dr. John Gottman where he could predict with over 90% accuracy whether a couple would still be together years later? 90% accuracy. And it didn't take him weeks either. You know what measure he took to make those predictions? The measure he analyzed was the way in which these observed couples handled conflict. Not the big romantic gestures, not how often they agreed or how in love they seemed, but what happened and how they spoke to each other when they disagreed, when they were under stress, frustrated, or hurt. Because research has shown that it is in those moments, the hard conversations, the tension, and the misunderstandings, that the real health of the relationship is revealed. But don't start going all over all of your relationships thinking, but then I don't have any good or healthy relationship. Because the way it is today is not fixed. We can change that. Because the good news for us today is that knowing how to handle conflict well is not innate. It's a skill. And like any other skill, it's trainable. Because, and I know this might sound strange right now, but conflict itself isn't the real problem. It's how we understand it and how we deal with it, and especially how we respond to it. And in this video, I'm going to give you a clear roadmap for understanding and dealing with conflict, talking about why we fear it, why we avoid it, why it's inevitable and so there's no point in avoiding it or running away from it really, and how to respond in ways that build trust and collaboration in both your personal and your professional life. Today, we're not going to talk about avoiding conflict. I'm going to transform the way you see conflict. A global study by CPP found that employees spend almost 3 hours every single week dealing with conflict. That's a lot of time. And because most of us don't have the right tools to deal with conflict, that's not just wasted time, it's an emotional tax on our energy, on our confidence, and on our relationships. For US businesses alone, it costs over $359 billion a year. In France, its cost is estimated at around 152 billion per year. To put it into perspective, that is the equivalent to a full month of wages lost annually across the country. A whole month. Everyone's salary. So it's not just you. You are not alone. And that is why we're going to tackle this problem together today. Let's start with a definition I love from the conflict resolution training we do at Lumia. Conflict exists when one person has a need of another and that need is not being met. Sounds simple, said that way, right? Well, first step to breaking up conflict, seeing it for what it is. Check. Conflict exists when one person has a need of another and that need is not being met. Because most conflicts don't start with shouting matches or slamming doors. They start quietly and subtly with a tiny small unmet need. A colleague didn't deliver a file on time, a friend forgot to call you back, a manager overlooked your contribution in a meeting. In the moment, it might seem small, but if that need goes unspoken, the gap between you two widens, and your brain starts to interpret that gap as a threat. Think of conflict like a game of dodgeball. Now, I don't know how you are in a dodgeball game, but I myself get pretty panicked pretty quickly. Something happens, we feel attacked by a ball flying too quickly our way. We defend ourselves, we put our arms up, so we throw something back, anything, a sharp comment, a defensive reaction or justification, maybe some shape of what should have been a comprehensive phrase, but ends up complete mush when it comes out. And then the ball keeps flying. Nobody's really playing, nobody's having fun or winning, and nobody's actually getting anything done. Research in social neuroscience by Naomi Eisenberger and Matthew Lieberman at UCLA show that social pain, like rejection, exclusion, or being ignored, activates the same brain regions as physical pain. That's why you feel that sting in your chest or that heaviness in your stomach when you're left out or dismissed. To your brain, it's not just a feeling, it's a real pain signal, as if you've been physically hurt. And when your brains perceive a threat, our nervous system automatically prepares for fight, flight, or freeze responses. That is why conflict can make your heart race, your voice tighten, and your mind go blank. But conflict, when approached well, is not just necessary, it's good for us. It establishes healthy boundaries. By naming what's okay and what's not, we raise boundaries and we teach others how to treat us, and ourselves by that matter in a way, and we learn to respect their boundaries too. Boundaries protect relationships from resentment. It deepens trust. When we work through tension honestly, we prove that the relationship can hold more than just the easy moments. It has place for the whole lot. And it helps us grow. Each time we navigate disagreement with courage and respect, we strengthen our emotional intelligence, our communication skills, and our self-respect. And fourth, it sparks better solutions. Constructive disagreement invites new perspectives, helping friends, families, and teams innovate instead of getting stuck in groupthink. And that is why understanding what conflict really is changes everything. In your personal life, it helps you catch and address small issues before they snowball, while using those moments to make your relationship stronger, not weaker. In your professional life, it helps you address tensions early and clearly, maintaining trust and turn different viewpoints into creative breakthroughs. When we stop seeing conflict as the enemy and start seeing it as a signal, a sign that something important is at stake, we unlock its value. Because the truth is, every conflict could be an invitation to understand or to clarify and to strengthen the connection between you and the other person. For many of us, the fear of conflict doesn't start in the boardroom. It starts much earlier. Shannon Pearson tells the story of being 8 years old when her parents separated. She remembers her father saying at that time, "Out there, nobody cares." The message that she got from it? Conflict equals pain, conflict equals loss, and conflict means people leave. So she became a master at avoiding it, smoothing things over, saying it's fine when it wasn't, doing whatever it took to keep the peace on the outside. Does it remind you of anyone? But avoiding conflict is like holding a beach ball underwater. It's tiring. You have to constantly adjust, push down, control it. That's what avoiding conflict feels like. You can keep it submerged for a while, but the moment you lose your grip, it pops up, often with more force than before, and it splashes everywhere, making a total mess. Fear makes us think that avoiding the ball or pushing it down keeps the water calm. In reality, it just builds pressure and makes a mess when it jumps up. Your story might be different, your version might not look like Shannon's, but the roots can be just as deep. Growing up in a home where speaking up meant being punished or ridiculed, or working in an organization or being in a relationship where disagreement is or was treated as disloyalty, or simply never having a healthy model for how to navigate tension, so when it happens, you freeze. Over time, these patterns shape our automatic responses. We don't choose to fear conflict. Our nervous system learns it's dangerous. And in professional settings, this fear can be magnified. Power imbalances make it risky to speak openly. You don't want to challenge your boss, your client, or the loudest person in the room. Or a lack of psychological safety creates a culture where people stay silent, even when they see problems or have solutions. Harvard professor Amy Edmondson's research is very clear. In teams without psychological safety, people are less likely to take risks, share ideas, or admit mistakes. And that silence doesn't just hurt relationships, it kills innovations and progress. The thing is that when fear controls our response to conflict, we suppress our needs and boundaries until resentment builds. We also miss the chance to clarify misunderstandings early and so limit the damage they could make. And we limit our growth because we avoid the very situations that teach resilience, trust, and communication. And here's the paradox. The more we avoid conflict, the more it controls us. But once we understand why the fear exists, the history, the biology, the context, we can start to work with our nervous system rather than against it. If you want me to go more into details about why we fear conflict, drop conflict fear in the comments below and let's start a poll. Also, if this video is helping you so far, click on that like button to let me know. So, what actually sparks conflict? Here are 4 of the most common causes. Unmet needs. We've seen that in the conflict definition. An unmet need for information, recognition, resources, or respect. Clash of values or priorities. What's most important to me versus what's most important to you. Miscommunication or misinformation. Messages that are misheard, misread, misunderstood, or even never delivered. Perceived threat to identity or autonomy. This decision makes me feel irrelevant, powerless, or disrespected. William Ury, co-author of Getting to Yes, reminds us that conflicts are not about positions, they're about interests. If we can uncover the interest, the real reason behind the conflict, we've already taken the first step towards its resolution. And not every conflict begins with bad intentions. Often, it's simply a reaction to something that has happened beforehand. Sometimes something that we know nothing about and that has nothing to do with us. Although we are not responsible for any of it, sometimes it happens. Remember, the gap between what we see of someone's life and what they're truly going through can be enormous. That is why it is always important to stay kind and open, to ask rather than judge always. You never know. Someone might just have lost someone very close to them. When tension rises, most of us slip into one of a few default responses. And these patterns, while they may feel protective in the moment, actually keep us stuck in a bad conflict resolution loop. You wouldn't be here if it were a virtuous one, would you? Exactly. They block resolution, they erode trust, and often they make the next conflict even harder to navigate. They make us feel small, invisible, or useless, and those are terrible feelings. We should never have to feel that way. So, these are a few classic ways we approach conflict, and do let me know if you recognize yourself in any of these. Avoidance. This can look like stonewalling, going completely silent, or telling yourself that you're taking the high road by not engaging. This is the flight response to danger. It feels safer because you're avoiding the discomfort, but it leaves the need you're having unmet, the tension alive, and the relationship weaker. Shannon Pearson and Terry Cole both point out that avoidance doesn't just delay resolution, it often makes the conflict grow bigger. It's like sweeping dust under a rug. It's out of sight, but it's still there, until one day you trip over the pile and boy will it make you sneeze. At work, avoidance can show up as not giving feedback when someone's work is off track, avoiding a colleague that you're frustrated with, or letting a problematic decision go unchallenged. In personal life, it can mean not addressing hurt feelings until they spill out in unexpected ways and risk damaging the relationship in unhealable ways. Aggression. On the other end of the spectrum is escalation, talking over, raising your voice, shouting, attacking the person instead of the problem. Aggression often comes from feeling cornered or unheard. It's the fight response in action. But while it can feel like you're standing your ground or standing up for yourself and setting clear boundaries, it usually pushes the other person further away, making them defensive and less likely to collaborate on a solution. Maybe instead of resolving it, they go into the response number one, avoidance. And that's tough for the both of you. Defensiveness and blame. Psychologist Dr. Harriet Lerner calls defensiveness the arch enemy of listening. When we defend, we stop listening. We focus on proving we're right or justifying our actions rather than understanding the other person's experience. And when we add blame into the mix, pointing fingers, saying you always or you never, we shift the focus from resolving the issue to protecting our own ego. Defensiveness is often rooted in shame or a fear of being wrong. But in practice, it shuts down dialogue and makes genuine resolution almost impossible. Kitchen sinking. This is when instead of stating on the one issue at hand, we throw in every past grievance and we mix everything up as if we were making an elaborate cake, but unfortunately here, not a very nice one. This is just like last month when you've always done this. Terry Cole warns that kitchen sinking guarantees nothing gets resolved. It floods the conversation with so many points of tension that the original problem gets lost, and all that's left is bitterness. One thing at a time, my friend. Not everything. It's impossible. Avoidance, aggression, defensiveness, and kitchen sinking are protective responses. They are our nervous system's way of shielding us from discomfort, hurt, or vulnerability. But what they actually protect us from is the chance to resolve the problem, to repair the relationship, and to rebuild trust. In the moment, these habits can feel like armor. But armor, even if it is very good at protecting us, by keeping the bad stuff out, it also keeps the good stuff out, like connection and compassion. But if we want resolution, real sustainable resolution, we have to be willing to take off that armor long enough to listen, to be curious, and to stay with the discomfort just a little longer. If the unhelpful patterns we just explored are like wearing armor that keeps connection out, then these skills that we're about to talk about are how to take your armor off Just enough time to allow trust, clarity, and solutions back in, and grow these relationships into strong, healthy, and authentic ones where everyone is allowed to be themselves. And it all starts with one mindset shift. Conflict isn't something to win. It's an opportunity to connect, to clarify, and to collaborate. When you see conflict as a battle, you focus on defeating the other person, on winning, on protecting yourself. But when you see it as a conversation or a chance to connect and focus on understanding them and yourself a little bit better and finding a solution that works for both sides, this shift is not about being soft or letting go of your needs. It's about recognizing that most conflicts, whether at work or in our personal lives, are not about one person winning. They're about both people walking away with trust intact and the issue resolved. To help you do that in your life, I'm now going to go over 5 skills you can start developing from now on when conflict arises. Because yes, conflict will arise, undoubtedly, whether we like it or not. So we might as well start seeing it as a game, or an exercise at least. Here goes. Skill number 1, curiosity before conviction. Carleen Savage calls curiosity the most powerful tool in conflict resolution. Before you argue, ask yourself, have I let them have their own story? Have I really heard it without backlash? Have I allowed their perspective to shape the solution? Curiosity is not weakness, it's power for super communicators. It disarms defensiveness because you're not attacking, you're exploring together. So, in your next conflict, try this. For the first 10 minutes, ask only questions. No Me Too stories, no interruptions, no facial expressions that suggest judgment. Just genuine curiosity. Just listen. In a workplace, you might ask, what would success look like this for you in this situation? Or what's the biggest concern you have about this? At home, it might be, when I said that, what did it bring up for you? The answers might surprise you, and often the real conflict lives underneath the one that you think you're having. Skill number 2, listen without hijacking. Most of us listen to respond, not to understand. We're mentally preparing our rebuttal while the other person is still speaking. So we're not actually listening, are we? The shift here is to listen with the intention of fully understanding their perspective. Terry Cole suggests building this into a routine by scheduling regular check-ins. Once a week or twice a month, have a short conversation where the goal is simply to see how things are going before issues escalate. For leaders, this can be just a pulse check with your team. For couples, it might be a Sunday coffee or cocktail where you ask each other, what did we do well this week? And is there anything that you would like to talk about that might not have gone the way that you would have liked? These conversations normalize problem solving and make conflict feel less like a crisis and more like a natural part of collaboration. And whoosh, there goes the fear of conflict. Skill number 3, boundaries with compassion. The Catherine story is one of my favorites because it shows the balance between structure and humanity. Shannon Pearson, working as an HR manager at the time, was told that an employee named Catherine was being verbally aggressive to colleagues. At first, Shannon prepared to issue formal discipline, but before the meeting, she learned that Catherine's son had died the year before, and she was drowning in grief. The solution that she found was twofold. Catherine could leave her shift if the grief became overwhelming, and she would still receive the formal warning to maintain workplace standards. Catherine agreed, and she never left her shift again, nor was she aggressive again to her colleagues. Boundaries protect the system. Compassion protects the person. In conflict, you often need both. We need to take care of each other and acknowledge the pain. Therefore, we work towards a solution together rather than each in our little corners. It makes us stronger, and the relationship benefits from it too. Skill number 4, positive energy transfer. Emotions are contagious. Walk into a room stressed and on edge, and the people you're speaking with will feel it. Walk into a room calm, open, and grounded, and you shift the atmosphere. Dorothy Walker's research shows that preparing for a difficult conversation isn't just about facts, it's about your state of mind. Choose a setting that's comfortable and free from distractions. Choose a time when you and the other person are not at peak emotion. And prepare mentally. A few minutes of breathing, a short walk outside, or reviewing your intention for the conversation. Your goal is to be an emotional thermostat, not an emotional thermometer. You set the tone instead of absorbing and reacting to the temperature in the room. Skill number 5, clear agreements. Once emotions have settled and you've explored each perspective, the work isn't over until you have a clear, shared agreement. This might be verbal or written, but it must be specific. Who will do what? By when? How will we know when it's done? And is everyone okay and comfortable with the task repetition between us? In a professional context, this could be a documented action plan after a project dispute. In a personal context, it might be as simple as, from now on, we'll agree to check with each other before making weekend plans. Clear agreements prevent misunderstandings from coming back to life, and they give both sides a tangible point of accountability. These skills are not about avoiding tension or pretending everything is fine. They're about giving you and creating a way through conflict, one that leaves both the relationship and the results stronger, and you as a person. It will help you become more confident, strong, and charismatic even during conflict. And how cool is that? Conflict will happen, my friend, but how you approach it determines whether it becomes a point of division or a turning point for trust. If you want me to make a video going more into details into these skills we saw, with examples and templates of conflict resolution skills, let me know by commenting conflict skills below. Also, if you are still here and you're not already subscribed, what are you doing? Get over here and like this video if it's not already done. Conflict is not the enemy. It's an amazing opportunity to grow your perspectives, to see people and situations under a new light. It's an opportunity to grow. It's inevitable, and it can be transformative in a good way. We fear it because of past experiences of biology and poor models. We avoid it or attack it because we haven't been taught better. But with curiosity, listening, and compassion, kindness, and clarity, we can turn conflict into connection. William Ury says that the greatest power you have in negotiation is the power to change the game. So, here's my invitation to you. Think of one conversation that you've been avoiding. Before the end of this next week, take one step towards it. Maybe it's getting clear on your unmet need, or maybe it's scheduling the conversation, or maybe it's simply practicing 15 minutes of pure listening. Get it done. It will set you free. You will feel so much lighter. And if you want to continue your journey into enhancing your communication skills, watch the video that shows up on your screen next. Remember, in conflict or in any other time, your voice matters. You matter. You are enough. And the way you show up can change everything. The power is yours. Go get them, tiger. I'll see you in the next video, my friend. But until then, follow your passion, take care, and speak up. Ciao, ciao.